We here for the latest, south side or the north side, not tuned to the greatest. Home team for the home teams, both sides got our own rings, on the mound or the long ball, but we don't put the wrong strings, yeah. It's that time of the year now, Wrigley or guarantees for the whole league that we hear now. New show with a new mood, discussions and interviews, trade rumors that might be. This is Pinwheels and Knife. Yeah.
That's a great default picture, Aldo. What's going on, everybody tuning in? What's going on to the Cubs fans that may be newer to the show tuning in? Always appreciate you guys coming in. Give us a minute here while we do the social medias to the live broadcast.
The tweeters. We must do the tweet and the Facebooks for the old peoples.
I think it's good, right, Aldo?
Oh, yeah, we're good to go.
All right. In 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? It is Thursday, December 2nd. Hopefully, by the time you're listening to this, Major League Baseball isn't locked out. It's going to be locked out. But you have found the Pinwheels and Ivy podcast. I am your host, Matt Swatsky, a.k.a. Southside Zoe, a.k.a. Father Zoe. And I am with two very excited Cubs fans. As always, my co-pilots on this journey, Mr. Aldo Soto.
I mean, obviously, we're going to get into Marcus Stroman, but Bob Nightingale did tweet out that there's going to be a lockout. So there's always the Bob curse out there.
Yeah, I think
he just worked something out at midnight.
The 7-minute negotiations, I don't think is very promising. And the good Reverend K. Fids.
I'd really like to shout out the Ricketts family cleaning crew for finding the extra money in the sofa this morning that allowed them to go ahead and actually pay somebody $25 million. Now we have two players on the Chicago Cubs that are being paid roughly $25 million, and then everybody else is getting paid a combined like 20. But it's awesome. We have a good job. So good job to the cleaning crew. Glad you found that stack under the couch cushion. Very nice.
So with the MLB lockout imminent, I mean, Bob's curse is only so strong. We got everybody else saying it's happening too. We saw a lot of action in Major League Baseball. Some teams more active than others. But on Wednesday night, the Cubs made a big splash. So we'll obviously start there, but we're also going to talk about some of the other big names in new places. What we learned from these crazy last 48 hours in Major League Baseball, and what we think is going to happen going further. So yeah, let's get it started. Let's tap this keg. As always, this show is brought to you by Sports Mockery, sportsmockery.com. Make sure you download the app, turn on push notifications, and you'll be the first one to know when Major League teams make big moves. Not the White Sox.
Larry Legend.
I know what I said. But yeah, make sure you go check out our sponsor, Sports Mockery, sportsmockery.com. Again, turn on the push notifications. Great coverage, all Chicago sports. If it happens in Chicago sports, you'll be the first to know. So yeah, let's just get right to it. Cubs there was rumors going around all day Wednesday. Shout out to Matt Spiegel and only Matt Spiegel from
Absolutely.
670 The Score. He was definitely the first one on it with actual real sources and sauces. But Matt Spiegel tweeted out that the Cubs were interested, and then what we've later found out now is that Stroman took a physical for the Cubs this morning, so that's probably what Matt found out.
We were told that he actually went to the same doctor that Antonio Brown got his vaccine card from. So we're in good shape as far as the credibility of the physical too. So it's gonna be fantastic.
Well, I mean, this entire thing broke down in the last 18 hours.
Yep.
It was literally, he said he talked to the media right after the signing. And he said he was content with waiting until February. Like, he was expecting the lockout to come and go. Mm-hmm. He was willing to wait. He got a call from his agent Tuesday night. He's like, hey, Cubs are interested. And he's like, all right. He flew from LA to Chicago on Wednesday, and they've just worked it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
how beautiful when your team actually tries and wants to sign someone.
It felt like the olden days of yore.
Must be nice.
4 years. I just want to say 4 years. It's been almost 4 years since the Darvish signing.
Think about that.
That's the last huge signing.
An entire freshman class came and went in high school. since the last time the Cubs have
Nico
done
Horner was still in Stanford.
I'll paint the picture and then I'll step back and you guys can start giving your thoughts as the in-house Cubs fans here. But again, Matt Spiegel from 670 Store said that the Cubs were heavy into Marcus Stroman. I don't know what time, probably about like 4 or 5 o'clock Central today on Wednesday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, West Coast time.
The news became official, and obviously, with any deal of a player of that magnitude, the first question on every MLB fan is, "What are the numbers? What are the numbers? What's the deal? What are the numbers?" Basically, what was it? 371.
Yeah, and then the max it can be is 3 for 75.
Yeah, so 3 years, 71, max 75. But the big thing is, he can opt out after 2 years, which he'll be 32. So good for Marcus Stroman. 2 years of making $25 million and opt out when you're still in your early 30s. So pretty good contract for him. Pretty good contract for the Cubs. A lot of the median for estimates on what he was going to go for this offseason. Let me pull that up because we're all about actual numbers here. A lot of people thought he was going to go for 5 years, $100 million. So basically what he did was crunch the years and crunch the AAV. Shout out Trevor Bauer because apparently he made that up.
Yeah, thank God for Trevor Bauer.
Damn, that guy needs
to fucking blazed. People, he crawled so that we could walk. Really,
he needs to fucking jump off a cliff. I don't say that a lot, but that dude fucking sucks. Before you two dive in, I'll just give my 2 cents as a Sox fan. Marcus Stroman is a great player. I would have loved him on the South Side. I think he's going to bring a lot to the Cubs. Some of that swagger and like youth and like entertainment showmanship that you lost with Javi Baez walking out the door. I think you're getting back with Marcus Stroman. He's a big personality. The dude has been on point. He added a couple pitches to his arsenal last year. What was his ERA plus was 133 last year, which was solid. His put away pitch at 50% of his last year was his curveball, but he also added that split finger. I think this is a great deal for the Cubs. We'll get into, hopefully there's a little bit more to come, but that being said, I know you two are more excited about this than I, so I don't know, you guys can flip a coin on who goes first, but
Kevin, go ahead.
Before we do anything, and I don't know how many Cub fans are in the chat right now. Here's a little whiskey right now. Cheers to you guys. Something. Hey, we got 3 hours to the lockout. Let's go. Hey, we got 3 hours to enjoy it. We didn't enjoy the trade deadline. This one feels good. So, cheers.
I'm drinking ginger ale.
And I mean, honestly, like before Kevin starts, I just want to say, like you just brought up the trade deadline, and that reminded me, as awful as it is on like social media when like something bad happens to your team, at the same time, on the other side of the spectrum, there is nothing more electrifying and like just gets you going than when something good happens. And just everyone's tweet. When mostly everyone loves the move, it's like, it's the cliche, it feels electric or whatever. But like when the timeline gets going, when it's fucking buzzing, like there's no better feeling, obviously, your team winning. But like right after, because Stroman broke his own signing, because like obviously there was a
that was really cool.
Yeah, and then like a couple hours later, it was like then Rosenthal, Heyman, like all the other guys came out and like they're obviously they knew then that something was about to get done, but it was Stroman who was like, "Hey guys,
I think more players.
I'm signing with the Cubs. Like it's been one of the teams that one of the ballparks I haven't pitched in. It's always been a dream." So that was fantastic.
Is that weird? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but is that weird that he's never pitched at Wrigley?
No, well, he was the Blue Jays for a long time. Yeah.
Then the Mets only come once a year.
The Mets only come once a year, and then lockout in 2020. Yeah.
Yep. Well, he opted out in 2022. Remember?
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I do love too about how he announced it on social media. To me, if this pans out well and he does play really well, now obviously he's no comparison to the GOAT, but this would be very similar to like the 1990s version of the fax that said "I'm back," like a big announcement coming via the player.
You need to pump the brakes.
He was the
you need to pump the brakes.
Honestly, so I thought I was going to be the excited one here. That was I'm not going that far.
Hey, look, I thought we were in the trust tree. Look, no, what I mean is it's a digital version of a player announcing his own return or his own signing, which is always cool because it doesn't come from the usual suspects. Everybody had, there were people out there today 3 hours after the Spiegel report saying that I got sources that tell me no shit, Sherlock. Everybody in the whole world knows this at 3.5 hours after Spiegel broke it. So don't say you got sources, and then after it happens, they're puffing their chest. Now there's some dude out on the West Coast that'll post it and be like, he'll like basically copy like sources tell me, like 5 hours later, and that kind of stuff. Spiegel, dude, I got to meet Matt when they were here for the Bears game. We got to hang out in the cabana at the sports swim or whatever it's called, or circus swim or whatever at Circa Hotel. Really good dudes, man. And to see him, he doesn't go out on a limb like that if this shit's not for real. And that's the thing that was really, really telling is Spiegel broke this thing out, said hot and heavy, which, at that point, I think Chicago Cubs Twitter got sexual because of that, because it's just hot and heavy. I'm at the Canes drive-thru and I'm like, can I have a hot and heavy Caniac combo? I'm like, I got all the words that come out of my mouth, hot and heavy. And you got to, with what we've talked about, and we have criticized Tom Ricketts, we've criticized, and again, I'm not over the KB stuff. We'll delve with that. That's a whole long way to go there, buddy. But this is a really nice step in the right direction.
11 minutes and 10 seconds.
Don't care. That's what. There's how many. But here. You know what? Yeah, you're right, fucking. So let's go.
Everybody drink for any new listeners. Anytime there's a Chris
11 minutes to say mention KB. Now I just mentioned it again. Do another shot. It's a Wednesday night, right?
Kevin, slow down. We still need to go for like another hour.
I got a half a ball here going. But no, this is really good news for the Cubs. But it's also really good. Cub fans needed this. Like we've been waiting for something which feels like forever. And now, of course, now that there's possible rumors of the Cubs aren't done yet tonight. Rich Hill was mentioned. Rich Hill now goes to the Red Sox, which puts Carlos Rodon in the crosshairs. This is a big night for the Cubs after what's been basically 4 months of really, if you go back to like the June swoon, really it's been 5-6 months of just.
Honestly, it's been finally 3 years.
Well, that too, yeah. Well, that's a whole other issue. But this is a big step in the right direction. This is, again, stop. Let's kind of taper it back a little bit too. Again, it's nice having, two considerably good plus weight, with Miley, and there's still 2 spots that are a question mark in that rotation. I still don't trust Adbert, but this is a good spot. But 3 guys in a rotation, you still got an offense that needs a hell of a lot more. If you're even thinking about contending, and so at this point, good start. Reservations now. I feel less pessimistic. I feel, and I'm you guys know me, I'm the worst. Like it takes basically a nice cool breeze and all of a sudden I'll change my direction that quick because it's easy to get me optimistic. But this is big. Stroman, what I like about Stroman too is he's must see TV. The Cubs haven't had a lightning bolt kind of a player like this that's as public as Stroman has been in what feels like, can you, Aldo, I don't know. Do you remember who's the most recent Cub that's been as public, especially Twitter, which is really, social media has been more outgoing or as outgoing as someone like a Stroman. Like, is this?
I was going to say on social media, funny enough, it was the last big signing, and it was unfortunately, it came after his first bad year. But Darvish, when he got more comfortable in his second year with Chicago, he quickly, because remember his 2018 year, he was bad, and then he was just injured, and then nobody knew what the injury was, and then he just didn't come back. So he had one of the in recent memories, one of the worst starts for a free agent, out of anyone in Chicago. But then that second year, he got more comfortable. He started, speaking. He stopped using a translator, and then he became more active on social media. And it was just like that, just instant fan favorite, lovable guy. And then that made you in turn root for him even more. Obviously, you always root for the guys on your team, but then it's like, hey, this guy. There's just that. I don't know that I don't even know, you just feel good about a guy. It's like you want him to succeed even more. And Stroman, that's the thing about Stroman though. At some point in this year, Stroman's going to get in a fight with fans, and I'm going to love it. Stroman, but even better, Kevin.
He blocked Justin Roman.
Oh yeah, we need to figure that out. We need to have Justin on the show. We need to get Marcus on the show. We need to figure that out. But I was going to say, Kevin, you're going to love this because I guarantee you there is going to be a time in these next 2, hopefully longer than that in 3 years, longer than 3 years that Stroman's with the Cubs, that he will get in a Twitter battle with David Kaplan, and it is going to be amazing.
I'm so here for it.
He does like to go at media. He
And
definitely likes to go at media.
The thing with you too is you, Darvish. He also taught us how to use the translation tool on Twitter, which was great. But you're right though. And the thing is, and you mentioned it. This is no shit. Good job with the Jules 8-piece chicken. The thing you also made mention of it, Aldo, and this is something I think Cub fans we all need to do this as a fan base to taper the expectations. We saw what happened with you, Darvish. It took you, Darvish, a little time to get acclimated to the environment in Chicago as a whole. Now he's coming from New York, but by way of Tampa or by way of Toronto, so he has played in a fishbowl, if you will. But even John Lester, when he came over, and we talked about it before we went on, started slow. It takes a second. So, let the dude get acclimated. Let him figure out his pitching coach. Let him get used to his receiver, whoever that might be. We got a couple good receivers. If Wilson Contreras is still a Cub by the end of the offseason, even better. There's a little talk that, perhaps he's out on the market. But this is a big start. It's huge. And, you got a guy that comes in that, I feel so terrible for him. He was stuck with the Mets, who, between the Mets and stomach flu, I'm not sure which one I would approve of most, but I hate the Mets a lot. So getting him away from the Mets, where he had a 3.6 WAR, 10-13 record this past year, 3.02 ERA, 179 innings pitched, 158 strikeouts, a really nice whip at 1.145, 33 starts though, consistent. And he's got a career 18.5 WAR, so it's a good pickup. He's just now, if you take away the 2019 season, which was a little bit of a hiccup, he has had a very nice progression from 2000. That was after the trade though. His total year actually in 2019 was not bad at all. Actually, I was just looking at his 18 from 2018 on. After 18, he's been making that move upward. He just hasn't been. He wasn't really good with the Mets. He was really good with the Blue Jays. So hopefully, just get out of New York, because New York's a shitbag.
Marcus,
not the city, just the Mets.
What the Cubs are here with Marcus Stroman, again, he's elite. We talk about with the White Sox with Dallas Keuchel, and again, this isn't anything against Marcus Stroman, but we're talking about an elite ground ball pitcher. I think his career is he's way above 50%, and the league average is like low 40s. He does not give.
In 2021, he had a 52.6% ground ball average.
And then for his career, it's like at 57, I think. He gives up less than a home run per 9 innings. Obviously, we don't. And I guess I was going to say, I wonder how that plays at Wrigley Field. But like Wrigley Field for half the year isn't a hitters friendly park anyway. But with that, it's not a guy who he doesn't strike out. It's not like he's a 200 strikeout a year pitcher. He needs a good defense behind him, and that is why I told you guys already. I'm going to be banging the table for the next whenever the CBA gets figured out. Bring me Carlos Correa right now. I've said it before. Love Nico Horner, Nick Madrigal, cool. Love him too. Hope he keeps hitting 300 with the Cubs.
Couldn't you just put Correa at third?
I mean, that's the thing. You could do that.
Well, remember Marcus Semien wasn't going to play second,
and then he got fucking paid.
Wait, who said it? Someone said it today. The Correa was absolutely willing.
There is something about like he'd play third base. Like he's not one of the guys. He's like, oh, I will demand to play shortstop.
Hold on, this is a good question from TMF in the comments. I believe that's Cub Zone. What up, dude? I don't see how Contreras gets traded now that the Cubs are adding, because that was a big thing before. Yeah,
I mean, I honestly don't either. Unless it's a part of a trade that brings you another like a good player, like a good position player now, or there's a good like the Cubs can make a trade with the Oakland A's right now, and like get Matt Olson, or they can get like Matt Chapman, or they can get one of their good starting pitchers. I don't necessarily want to see Wilson Contreras leave, but if you can get in one of those two guys, I'd consider it. But I don't think we're at that point yet.
I only mentioned that because again, my DMs kind of got hit. I had people saying Guardians as a possible destination with shortstop that is very coveted, but I'm not entirely sure that the Cubs aren't pretty sold on this middle as it is. I think that the idea now is to get a little more bop in the outfield. You got your contact guys up the middle. You got a first baseman / DH and Schwindel, who might continue to pan out. Hopefully, you got Patrick Wisdom, who maybe got figured out the last month and a half of the season, but hopefully he's making the adjustments that we need to see from him in the offseason. Although the question marks are there as an older, upper 20s rookie, like the Phoenix that rose on the south side for a bit. And so you've got these pieces. So the Cubs do have, we've talked about it on the show, the balanced lineup. You've got to have some contact guys sprinkled in. You can't have the 3 outcomes all the way from top to bottom. And now the Cubs do have some non-3 outcome guys, at least 2 or 3. I mean, in this lineup that you can look at. And so now you can start filling in these blanks. And I think that intelligent spending, right? It's not going to be much intelligent when you're throwing $300 million at a freak show. So, but that would be intelligent to me. And we don't know on the other side of this CBA how much this is going to affect and how much that window is going to open up even more for the players. These guys took these big contracts early, and we've talked about it here before. Some of these guys might be getting, oh man, I can't believe I got this much money, not realizing that at the back end of the CBA they could have gotten more. But it doesn't matter at this point. They've honeypotted a deal, a good enough group, and this is going to be an interesting negotiation when now that they're locked down here in about about 3 hours.
So some of the other names that have been tied to the Cubs that we've seen in these rumor tweets and everything, Carlos Rodon. That's one name. Actually, so really quick, weird story. When the White Sox played the A's in the playoffs 2 years ago, I made friends with a bunch of A's people on Twitter, like in friendly shit talking, and we've remained baseball friends. I've had 2 of them who claim to know something about something. Say Matt Olson has indicated that he wouldn't mind going to Wrigley.
Yes, please.
Then there's obviously Carlos. No one knows what's up with Carlos Correa. But then from the parking lot, hopefully we'll have him on the show soon. Fizz, what's his name again? Henderson?
Oh, Hendo. Yeah, we're going to be – I'd like to reach out.
Yeah,
Chris
we're going to reach out to him. He's a great dude, but homeboy knows a lot of people in baseball. Like, and it's not just like he knows their agent or like he knows their cousin. Like, he's down on the field with players, and apparently he has a relationship with Trevor Story. And he tweeted out basically just flat out, if the Cubs come correctly, Story's signing. Which
I think he was doing a Twitter space, and then we got that was one of the things that he said.
That'd be sick.
Wait, I haven't considered that name because honestly, and that's the thing, Kevin. Like you were right when you're talking about the Cubs and like being apprehensive of thinking if they're actually going to spend. I mean, as optimistic as I was, every step of the way, in the back of my mind, I was always like, yeah, but they haven't fucking spent already. Like, how can I even trust that they're going to spend? But with this move, honestly, it does for me. I don't know how you guys feel. Like for me, it does change the outlook of what the Cubs are going to do, or at least are going to try to do. I think they are going to try to compete, and that's the thing. I think right now their payroll is like at what, like
breaking blues.
Chris
Taylor got 4 years, $60 million with a 5th-year option that it can increase the total to 73.
Oh dang.
Good.
So what would you like? So quick Sox sidebar. Chris Taylor 4 for 60 or Lori Garcia 5 for 60 or 3 for 69?
Go fuck yourself.
Hey, and you know what? Rick Hahn today said that it looks like Kimbrel is going to be actually like pitching the 4th inning now. So
wait, what?
No,
he said that they'll have to find a place if they can't trade. They're trading him. It made it so very
yeah, they're going to trade him. People are being, per usual, very melodramatic on White Sox Twitter. I think Hahn had a fucking great press conference today. Basically just told everybody to calm your shit. You know, final rosters aren't due on December 2nd. Like,
and that's, I mean, honestly, that's the message for every team.
Yeah.
For the Cubs too, before this. They're gonna sign players.
Yeah,
just,
I mean, we
saw the most fucking action that we've seen in years.
Exactly. This was a really, really fun 48 hours with big names going all over. Texas Rangers just fucking robbed a bank and went crazy. I mean, it was a crazy like flurry, and it was fun because you don't usually get that in baseball. That was like an NBA style free agency. Like that was crazy.
Can we just negotiate the CBA every offseason?
Yeah,
I saw that a couple times.
Can we just do like a 1-year deal? Let's go. Let's do this every year because this was way more fun than the trade deadline.
It was crazy.
Players choosing their destiny. The players choose their destiny, not the front office. These are the guys.
it was a ton of fun, and it was, like if you put your phone down or looked away from your computer when you came back, it was like Corey Seager's on the Rangers. So is Marcus Semien. You're like, what the fuck's happening? Javi Baez is on Detroit. You're like, whoa, slow down. But
try waking up on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And then all the pitchers, because first it was the pitchers. It was like
Right.
Kevin Gausman, 5 for 110, bam.
Yep.
Robbie Ray, same deal basically. And then the Giants re-signed a couple other guys, and then today there was the Alex Cobb move. The closer for the Angels, he resigns, big deal.
Iglesias. I could be a hero, baby.
You have the other like 1-year deals that happened earlier, like the
Iglesias
Syndergaard
got
to the Angels. There's
4
just
years?
so much. It's left and right. And like during that time, and like it happened this week, it happened yesterday when Yan Gomes, like 2-year, $13 million deals. Like every other year when the Cubs, had a full roster, that would have been like, hey, good. You finally did something to like, compliment the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday it happened and it was like, okay, are you going to do anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe they are.
Absolutely. And I mean, to Hahn's point too, like he went out and got Kendall Graveman, which, okay, it's not like a huge signing, but it's a need. Done. He went out and got his fucking favorite safety blanket in Leury Garcia. And real quick, just a side note, the Leury Garcia contract, they may have gave him a little bit extra, but I think that's a little bit like, yo, you're old. This is your last contract. You've been loyal to the soil for a long time. We're going to throw you like $3 extra million or something like that. Like, that's what I see when I see that deal. I really don't have a problem with that. The only reason I would have a problem with the Leury Garcia signing is if it's opening day and he's starting. Mm-hmm. Then I have a problem with the signing.
Right. Well, it's no longer a depth move. It's actually like a positional move, which you'd obviously prefer not.
But like, that's the thing that like, well, no, actually, no, you're right. Cause basically everyone said it, but like, he is your perfect, we've said it. He's the perfect, he's the perfect utility guy. He can play multiple positions. It's not always great, but and he can fill in at a lot of different positions when there's an injury, and there's always going to be injuries. So it's fine.
My frustration, and I tweeted out some silly shit, but my frustration with it is I get nervous that the White Sox will use him as a crutch too much. Like, oh, we don't really need to go out and get this second baseman. We could just throw Leury there. You know what I mean?
That
like,
is the fear, yeah.
That's my biggest fear with it. And yes, I did tweet out the video of him playing the fly ball in right field like a little leaguer in the playoffs. But the White Sox have work to do. Hahn not only acknowledged the fact that he knows that they have work to do, but also repeatedly was like, just calm the fuck down. It's December 2nd. Like, you guys realize we're months away here.
And like, yeah, and that I think we were talking about it, how just the players available for what the White Sox need. Those guys are still out there. Obviously, the Chris Taylor that takes away a huge, second base right.
I was really hoping for Chris Taylor. I really wanted Chris Taylor.
But I mean, you still have like the guy who's becoming, maybe the number one target or could be is like, Conforto still out there.
Yep.
You still have
Castellanos still out there.
You still have Schwarber. You want that left-handed power bat?
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Schwarber is pretty fucking good.
These are just free agents. Hahn mentioned specifically that the trades, no one was talking trades right now because everybody was focused on free agents.
It's always the trade route. Again, the Oakland A's, you mentioned, we talked about them earlier. Oakland A's, they're going to be selling. Yep. You can probably, I mean, I don't know what left-handed bats you can get from them besides Olsen, which, I mean,
now, real quick,
I don't think that's an option for the Sox, but there's always teams that you can find guys.
Now, I know right now we have a ton of Cubs fans watching this podcast right now, so I know we're talking about White Sox stuff. So real quick, because we're going to come back to the White Sox stuff here in a second, just to keep you guys your appetite wet, enjoy.
And for the second time in the last 3 days, it's Marcus Stroman, 3-2 to Harper, and he struck him out. Stroman.
That was a sinker.
With a high
fastball. Jeez.
7-6 down for Stroman on. Well, he might get some snow this weekend. I don't know if you like shuffling. Lindor turns the double play, and that retires the Sox. And he hits one
heavy.
A nice pickup out in second. For the double play.
So what I'm going to say about this is, if you could tell by just those few clips, the dude throws a heavy baseball.
Yeah. No, I mean,
heavy baseball.
60% ground ball rate for his career. I mean, that's
out of tops, man. Love it.
But with all the moves being made around the league, let's just take a little whirl around where some of these top names landed and what we think about it. So, I mean, right off the bat, we got to start down in Texas. I mean, Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. So, a couple things here. One, I was told Marcus. I hate it when people do that. I was told, but the word was that Marcus Semien would only play shortstop. So the White Sox had no shot at him. Signs for 7 years, $175 million down in Texas. And in his introductory press conference, a reporter goes, "Where are you playing?" He goes, "I think I'm playing second."
Well, I mean, he was paid like a shortstop.
Right.
That's ultimately what it came down to.
Doesn't matter if you're paid for like a shortstop and you're playing second. It's easier.
So Marcus gets his paper, which, for the record, I am not hating on any man getting paid. Like, go get that money.
Yeah.
So Marcus got his money, and then almost in the same breath, they went out and signed a shortstop for shortstop money in Corey Seager for 10 years with $325 million with a limited no trade and no opt-outs. Corey's going to die in Texas.
And hand up. I remember when John Heyman, I forget what month it was, when he was like, these guys, I think it was like Baez, whatever. He said that he like $200 million, and then Seager $300 million. I was like, who the hell is going to pay Corey Seager $300 million?
$325 million.
Hand up. I was wrong.
And here's the rub. It's Texas. So for 82 of the games that he gets paid for, zero state income tax.
And something that someone else brought up that I didn't even remember. Remember in the COVID season when all the playoffs were in Texas?
Mm-hmm.
Remember who the MVP was?
They got paid for that too?
Corey Seager.
Oh, there you go.
He likes that ballpark.
Loves that ballpark.
Crushes in that ballpark. So Texas all of a sudden had like a double-A middle infield, and now they have arguably the best middle infield in baseball overnight. And I've mentioned it in a couple tweets because Texas went on to sign. Who else did they get? They got John Gray. And they got that utility infield guy. Wasn't a really big name.
It was Cole Calhoun, an outfielder, I think.
Yeah, Cole Calhoun. Sorry, utility outfielder. But Texas, one thing that fans in general, like when moves get made, like Stroman move, these moves, all these moves, they get really excited for the team, which they should. 100% they should. But you also got to take a step back. Texas, as they stand right now, might come in third in their division. Like, but what they're doing is they're building. Like, shit doesn't happen overnight. They're building. Like, come back to Texas in 2023, 2024.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, because I will admit, because like I was on board too, and I was kind of, it wasn't so much as like, why are you spending? Because like, always spend. More teams spend. It's good for you. You will be better over the long run if you spend more money. But it was funny seeing. It's like, well, if this was their plan, that they were going to go all out in free agency, which again, good for the Rangers. You should be doing that when you can. Or I mean, every team can. Why did you 3 months earlier trade away your best player in Joey Gallo?
Yeah, that
like imagine if Joey Gallo was still there.
But hey, look, no, but what did they get back? And what are they looking at? And again, you bring up another good question.
What did they get back?
Wait, I actually don't have
no idea. I honestly do not know. I'll look it up while you talk.
You make actually a really good point too, and this is the thing we got to think about with Stroman too. We talked about his contract before we got on the air as well. That he's got front-loaded contract. He's got first year 25, second year 25, opt out, third year 21. Now, if the Cubs aren't contending in 2022, you're basically paying Marcus Stroman $50 million for 2023. And then if he's performing, he's going to opt out to take higher than a 21 mil if he's doing it, what he might be capable of. So this has to be like an indicator, right? This has to be an indicator, like same with the Rangers, for Rangers fans. This has to be an indicator that they're here to play ball now. Like, I don't know. Like,
yes, it has to. It has to, because you're right. Because if they didn't, then why do this deal? Mm-hmm. Because then it is truly wasting. It is truly, wasting those resources or whatever. If you're not taking advantage of a guy's prime years when you're paying him a whole bunch of money, why would you do that then? If at the same time you're going to be like, well, that's it.
That wouldn't be
guys,
intelligent spending.
Stop me when you've heard of the shortstop Josh Smith. He was the Yankees' number 14 prospect at the time.
Josh Smith, he's the Hawks legend.
Second baseman Ezekiel Duran, who was the Yankees' number 15 prospect at the time.
Okay, I mean, I guess that's a great name. That's a future MVP.
That is a solid baseball name. Second baseman / outfielder Trevor Haver, Hauver.
Whatever you
number
say.
23 prospect, and then a right-handed pitcher Glenn Otto.
How are you pronouncing the entire free agent class?
No, that's.
I mean,
that's
I guess here's the thing, though.
That's who the Rangers got for Joey Gallo.
Like, here's the thing, though, because I think how long was Joey Gallo under contract? Just this year?
Yeah,
like 2022, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
So at the same time, like maybe one of those guys does develop, and then by year 2 or 3 that Simeon and Seager there, maybe one of those guys comes up and he's also good. So like, hey, maybe it does end up working out. But again, it was surprising because normally you don't see a team making 2 huge moves at the same time.
Right, and then just staying with the list, and I'm going in descending order from the most money spent to the last. So number 3 is your boy Javi Baez. Comes to the AL Central. He gets 6 years, $140 million, so 23.3 AAV. He does have an opt-out in his clause, but he's on the Detroit Tigers. Now, weird move in my opinion. I thought they were really going to go after Correa, so Correa must have told him to fucking go scratch. But
Tigers.
We know what Javi Baez is. We know what he brings. Yeah, he did look sad as fuck in the press conference.
Oh yeah, that screenshot. They did him dirty though, because I saw the whole video, and there was a time when he was. But the screenshot, he looks mad as hell.
Yeah.
You have all this video from probably like a 30-minute moment, and you just can go through every frame and find the one that makes him look like he just was like my mom made me sign this contract. Like he looked like my mom made me like maybe your friend.
I saw somebody like quote tweeted, and it was like Javier Baez realizing that he's going to be hitting 415-foot flyouts, and
he's going to hit so many triples in that ballpark.
Really, he really is, and I almost think though, something inside of me feels like Detroit sold Javi on, we're going to go get this guy, and this guy after you sign. And then none of it happened. And then he did his press conference and he was just like,
Javi doesn't give 2 shits about winning.
No, he got $140 million. He doesn't give a fuck.
On his birthday.
I don't mean that much.
He's a really good tagger.
It looks like, according to Yumper, it was reported that Correa was offered $10,275, but he wanted more. I got to do this. We have to say this because, and although
Seager got $10,325, Correa definitely should have get more than Seager.
Yeah. But although you and I have talked about this too, I got to tip a cap to the unsung hero of the Javi Baez everything. Javi Baez's representation team, whether it's his PR, whether it's his agent, whoever is running the optics for Javi Baez, they are top. They're fantastic. They might be Jerry Maguire. They might be his only client. Or he might be their only client. But they have done a fantastic job over the last few years crafting. Even in the worst moments of Javi Baez, they have found a way to put him and paint him in a light that allows him to maintain value even at his lowest point. Come back from really, after 2020, you really think he's worth what, $23 million? What was it? Well, how much was his worth? No,
23.3.
23.3. After 2020, was he worth 23.3? No. After the first half of the season before the trade, was he worth 23 million? No. But they found it, they latched it, they kept the optics, they kept all the other cool, exciting stuff. They pushed it. And when push came to shove, they had a high ground in negotiation. And Javi, I would say, got the best value deal as an individual player that any of these guys got besides Scherzer in this pre-CBA. Well, Scherzer has $15 million every year. He has $15 million a year. He's got $15 million a year coming from the Nats too for the next 3 years, doesn't he?
Something like that.
Yeah. Scherzer's got money coming from 3 different directions.
Yeah, he's going to buy the Cubs. So the that's Javi, you got to tip your cap, man. Javi's team. You guys have heard. I'm critical of Javi a ton on here. But he's going to go to Detroit. He's going to be with Miggy for a little bit. He's going to be with a guy that could take him under his wing for a second. But we know that Miguel Cabrera is not going to be around very long. And it's going to be Javi's team. It might be Javi's team immediately, but he's
there, Fitz. That's the point I was just going to make. Is I'm very curious to see what Javi Baez does when it's Javi Baez's team. There's no Chris Bryant. There's no Anthony Rizzo. There's no Wilson Contreras. There's no who's the shortstop on the Mets?
Lindor.
There's no Lindor. There's no DeGrom. This is
Zach Short.
This is the Javi Baez Detroit Tigers.
Absolutely.
Again.
You know what I'm saying?
Detroit. He's gonna. You know what? Detroit's gonna love him too. Like he'll be fine in Detroit. In fact, Detroit. I think Detroit will treat him better than New York thinks it could have treated him. And I think obviously Chicago treated him fantastic. I think he got overtreated. I think he got babied a little bit here. I think Detroit's going to give him some love. They're going to be very happy to have a player like him.
They will.
And I think that it's, again, Miguel Cabrera was a very abrasive player as a young guy too, and he is like adored there. So, and perhaps Javi goes there and he, and maybe Miggy can get in there and say, look, Javi, look, dude, if you could just do this, look at what kind of a hitter you could really become. Because I will say this 100%, and I believe it. Javi has hit 70% of his potential right now. That's where he sits. If he were to hit 100, he could be God knows what. And so I think that any kind of situation where you could have a mentor figure that could help Javi actually reach the ceiling, because I don't think he's there. And that's what's frustrated me about him forever, is that the potential, the ceiling is a lot higher than he's at, but he doesn't put that effort into the adaptation. It's I'm Javi, fuck you. And that's not okay for a hitter in a game that requires adaptivity. Mm-hmm. He might have a good stretch here and there, but adaptivity gives you longevity.
At the end of the day, fuck Detroit. And now I can say fuck Javi Baez because he's on Detroit. So
you could have said it before, remember?
I know, but
Cubs Sox, so come on.
I'm not you know me, I'm not the Cubs Sox guy. I hate Detroit more than I hate
I just wanted to add in terms
over under on McDonald's that he crushes in the tunnel when he's pretending to watch video swing analysis there in Detroit.
Don't know.
In terms of Baez's contract and like what he got, all I say is like just think back of how much he was hated by Mets fans in the middle of August. By the end of the season and heading into this offseason, you talk to the average Mets fan, they fucking loved him.
Yeah.
That's just what he does.
It was after that whole stop booing us shit.
Yeah. They fucking hate him. They want him out of town already. Like after 3 weeks, they were done with him. And by the end of the season, they wanted him back. Why? Because that's just Javier Baez. The highs are fucking high. The lows are low. He's frustrating as hell, but he still gives you those fucking moments that you're like, God damn, this guy's amazing.
So
and that's what
drives you nuts. That's what drives you nuts.
I want to go through about like 20 more of these. So, all right. We mentioned Max Scherzer got the Trevor Bauer deal. So he got 3 years, $130 million to go to New York.
Thank you, Trevor, for your service.
I mean, if you go to New York for a 3-game series and 2 out of those 3 games you're facing DeGrom and then Max Scherzer, you're going to have a bad time. The next one, this one kind of surprised me a little bit. Robbie Ray getting 5 years, $115 million from the Mariners. Now, talk about a team that they're literally linked to everyone right now. The Mariners are linked to everyone, but the only one that's put pen to paper so far is Robbie Ray. He's taking his tight pants to Seattle where it's hipster galore, so they'll love him out there. But I love the Robbie Ray story. Hate him as a pitcher because he fucking owns the White Sox. But
his pants.
Dude bet on himself, took a cheap deal to go to Toronto, won himself a Cy Young, and then got $23 million a year for the next 5 years to go play in Seattle. You can clip this, whatever. Seattle is going to be fucking good. They've done this build right. It depends on who else they sign, but they had the farm. That's the biggest thing with Seattle. It's such a strong farm system, and now they're adding pieces like Robbie Ray and shit like that. I think they're gonna be a problem in the AL West. The AL West as a whole is going to be a lot better this year with Texas, Mariners coming up. Angels are making moves. They're going to get Trout back too.
Like the only team taking a step back is the A's.
Yeah, and the A's are the ones, and I almost feel like the A's are reading the writing on the wall, and they're going to be like, all right, we're going to take a step back.
Yeah.
You boys go fight it out. We're going to figure some shit out, and then we're going to be back.
Well, they have to get ready for their Las Vegas debut.
Yep, and they got to get ready for their move.
So, by the way, can I do a pause for no shit? John Heyman, Yankees are among teams in the bidding for Braves superstar Freddie Freeman. But hard to find anyone who thinks he'll leave Atlanta, including Yankees. They view it as another situation akin to Jeter as a player with Yankees. It seems Braves must bridge 5-6 year different. Point is, Yankees are teams in the bidding, but Yankees find it hard to believe he'll leave. Like what is that?
Thank you, John.
You are going to
the
have
sky
to
is blue,
overpay.
the water's wet. I think I could bang Kate Beckinsale, and I know that I won't.
You're going to have to overpay so much to get Freddie Freeman out of Atlanta.
You know what that tweet was?
That was no one's paid
He's
attention.
sitting on the couch in his underwear right now.
No, that tweet was
in his underwear.
That tweet was Freddie Freeman's agent being like, "Hey John, tweet this out. We're trying to get a couple extra million from the Braves.
Yep.
Just mention the Yankees. Thank you."
Oh, you a case catch? Got him.
So Toronto loses Robbie Ray to the Mariners, but then they turn around and give Kevin Gausman 5 years, $110 million. So basically, the same deal as Robbie
Same
Ray.
deal.
So they basically just swapped out Robbie Ray for Gausman.
Mhm.
As it's no secret on the show, I like the Blue Jays. I like.
Oh, no. Oh God, no!
I
What
just got
happened?
so excited.
Aldo, what are you doing?
It's not breaking news. It's not breaking news. But boys, we have our first Carlos Correa to Cubs connection.
Oh shit!
Jesus.
Mark
This is
Berman.
unreal.
This high
Mark
school-
Berman. So I think he's a reporter at sports. He's a sports director at Fox 26. I think that's Minnesota. I don't know. According to MLB sources, the agent for free agent shortstop Carlos Correa has heard from the Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers,
Jesus.
Cubs, and Braves.
Okay.
I wish they would just go like, and tonight.
Wait. Even better. Okay, no, I know what I just said. He's a Houston guy.
Oh God. Okay. Well,
So
that might work.
he has that
There's a little
connection.
bit.
Correa's. So it's,
I know, but I need it. I
Can we
need
get
it less than 6 teams, dude.
Can we actually get like a reporter to report like teams also
a week ago, sorry to
scores.
interrupt you, Kevin. A week ago, there was a report. The Cubs reported 7 teams that were interested in Marcus Stroman. From MLB Trades Rumors, Tim Dirks. It was true, damn it. It was true.
True. I want a reporter though to be like, according to sources, interested parties for Carlos Correa include the LA Dodgers, the New York Mets, Toronto Blue Jays, Boston Red Sox, Atlanta Braves, San Francisco Giants, Houston Astros, Los Angeles Angels. So
actually, I was going to say, I want it to be the inverse. I want it to
copy and paste them all.
To be so that you have to like scavenge through. I want it to be, X player's agent told me that, and then list 24 teams are not interested in the client.
That would.
And then you have to figure out, wait, who didn't he say?
A lot of babies about to. My man Jack says that Cubs hotel is going to be sold out next week. A lot of babies going to get made. Going to be called Stro in that hotel next week.
The one that a lot of Sox fans really wanted, that I thought was actually a possibility, and even after this contract, I thought it was a possibility. But Starling Marte went to the Mets for 4 years, $78 million. So.
That was he got paid a lot more than I thought. I mean, good for who has to thank all these players? Steven Matz. Steven Matz pissed off Steve Cohen so much that he's like, "Fuck all of you." Here, all right, fine. You want to see me hand out contracts?
Yep.
Here you go.
Here's 4 big ones. Let's go. Because
real quick, can I do a shout out to Wrigley Nate? I know you're here in the chat, by the way. You're here in Vegas. We're gonna get a beer soon, buddy. Sorry, you're not disinvited to the sports bar. We're gonna go to Yard House or something. Let's go. All right. Anyway, sorry.
I mean, there was some other, like Eduardo Rodriguez went to Detroit. We already talked about Marcus Stroman. Chris Taylor re-signed with the Dodgers. Rafael Iglesias re-signed with the Angels. John Gray, where'd he go? He went to Texas. Good for Avisail Garcia getting 4 years, $53 million out of the Marlins.
Yes.
Good for him, man.
When I remember seeing that deal, I'm like, oh my God, teams are going crazy.
Yeah, that actually, I agree. That was the deal that I was like, all right, this shit's getting goofy now.
By the way, does this post, it says, LOL, Cohen is a mess. Does anybody else picture Mr. Burns right now destroying his suite in his own mansion when all this stuff has happened tonight for Cohen? It's like Citizen Kane just knocking the
Cohen got 4 guys.
No, Cohen got. He lost Steven Matz, and then he's like, all right, fuck you. I'm getting Max Scherzer.
I'm going to get Max Scherzer, Starling Marte, Mark Kahana, and Eduardo Escobar.
Yeah.
Like, they went out and they got some players, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't sit on his hands.
Look, he talked to some experts at his cocktail party last week with his friends, and they told him that that's not enough. He needs at least Carlos Correa, Chris Bryant, and he needs to actually somehow find a way to get Dirk Nowitzki. I don't know. He's following their advice.
Verlander stayed home at Houston. Good for him for not playing 1 game and getting 2 years, $50 million.
Right.
Sick work if you can get it.
He's still married to Kate Upton. So
speaking of Steven Matz, he went to the Cardinals, which, by the way, shout out Cardinals fans for reminding everyone how racist you are when Stroman signed with the Cubs. You fucking assholes. Yeah. Anthony DeScalfani.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
You know what?
I
struggled with that name, and Zoe got it on the first try.
He stayed with the Giants. Kendall, you said Alex Wood went with the Giants. White Sox got Kendall Graveman. Noah Syndergaard to the Angels. Love that move. Hopefully he can. Eduardo Escobar, Mets, Cobb, and Belt to the Giants. That's your top 25 money guys that have been signed in like the last 48 hours.
This has been so cool.
And I stopped at 25. Like there's
there's
way
more
more people.
It's not like 1 year.
That doesn't include the minor league deals that the Cubs signed. I mean, those were great.
No one cares.
Not gonna work here anymore anyway.
The last one that you brought up, so I think it was one of the last ones. What the fuck? Noah Syndergaard.
Yeah.
Again, that brings me back to the Marcus Stroman deal and why I do think the Cubs are going to try to sign. This isn't the last step for them, because it would have been different if it was a Noah Syndergaard. It's like, all right, we're going to give you 1 year, $20 million. Come pitch with us. Show everyone that you're healthy, because that would have been the easy flip. Right. That would have been like, okay, like, hey, he's healthy now. Who wants him in July? Because it would have just been a 1 year deal. But with this, it's a commitment. Like, it's not just a 1 year, bam, we're done. It's a multi-year commitment. It may only be 3 years, 2 or 3 years. But like, it's serious. It's $25 million. And again, adding to the payroll right now, which is like almost like insignificant. I honestly, guys, I'm getting.
So
they're getting Correa.
This is good here. I like this from user 2016. Don't be shy, kid. He said Kevin Gausman to the Blue Jays was the one that hurt for me. I really had eyes on him in Cubby pinstripes. So with that being said, we just went down the top 25 deals that have happened here. Which deal that happened out of those that were you really hoping would be on the north side?
Hold on, I got to time out. Jesse Rogers can suck another rock before he chews on it. Marcus Stroman is the first step for rebuilding Cubs. What a troll. Because obviously Jed Hoyer said this is not a rebuild, so he's literally calling it a rebuild right to our face now at this point.
Jesse Rogers also last night said he was on the side of the owners. Hilarious.
Yep. Jesse, like a never-ending story.
I will not lie to you guys. I said this, or I was thinking about it early in the day when the rumor first came out, and then when it became more apparent that Sherman was going to come to the Cubs, and then eventually he did sign. My first choice out of those, like the top pitchers, would have been Kevin Gausman. Like if it was between Gausman and Stroman, I would have liked Gausman. But again, Cubs can't be picky. They got a good pitcher. Cubs, they need a lot of help. Can't be picky. You can't say no to a good pitcher that wants to pitch for you. But I do have to say, if it was between the two, I would have liked Kevin Gausman, because I mean, that guy again, Marcus Stroman, love him, but he's not the power. He's like not the power pitcher that Kevin Gausman is. So.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, for me, like actually, I'll even go worse. I actually am fine with. I know the power stuff is great, but I'm looking. Obviously, I would say Max Scherzer is the real answer. But the John Gray thing hurt a little bit, I think, to me. Even though he's not a velo guy, it was the non-QO. He felt like a perfect fit for the Cubs, and the Rangers came in and swooped him up in a weird way too. And I've talked about this before. He was destined to be a Cub. I felt. I actually there was the expectation in the draft that the Cubs were going to take Jonathan Gray in the 2013 MLB draft. It was supposed to be Mark Apple, John Gray, and then a lesser-known future Colorado Rocky, Chris Bryant. And take that like seriously. I'm gonna break. You want you do want a YouTube video of someone punching their monitor? I'll use this one though. But oh my god. Whoever did that Photoshop, may you rot in hell. But oh god, now I can't even focus. I'm serious, like that took my train of thought now. I can't do that. But yeah, anyway, Jonathan Gray was supposed to be a Cub. And so for me, I was like, oh, that'd be really poetic. I'm sure, again, the year that Chris got drafted by the Cubs, he was expected to go to the Rockies. We were expecting the Cubs to take Jonathan Gray. I was driving to Colorado at the time. So I was really pumped because I'm like, I can't wait to get up there because we're going to a concert. By the time I get up there, Chris will be a Rocky. I can't wait to get free drinks because I'm going to be like, that's my boy, like an idiot. And then we're on the radio where I'm listening to MLB Network, and they're like, Chris Bryant for Cubs. I'm like, And then my phone lost service in Green River, Utah, until we got out of this whole long gorge. So I came back to obviously 30 text messages. Like, what the hell? I'm like, oh my God, this just happened. So anyway, I wanted John Gray because I think John Gray's got a really cool connection. Didn't get him. So John Gray sucks, but here's me too. I'm going to throw this out there, and I want it bad now because I want to hear the broadcasters tell the story about how they were best friends in high school. A lot of times, you can add Matt Stafford to the broadcast a lot. So I would like to just hammer down on some Clayton Kershaw action and bring Clayton Kershaw to the Cubs. That would be a move that would just make me feel good in my loins.
So there has been talks from your boy that Kershaw might come to the South Side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not Clayton from 10 years ago, but as a fourth or fifth starter for the White Sox, that's not bad at all. Talk about mentor. But the one that really, I really want to.
By the way, breaking news: Marcus Stroman will be wearing 0.
Didn't he always?
First in team history of the Chicago Cubs, a player will wear the number 0. He can get that retired. Hey, not stolen.
I mean, obviously Marcus Semien would be amazing, but I knew that wasn't realistic. Chris Taylor and the contract, the 4 for $60, that's like a White Sox type. I wanted Chris Taylor. It would have solved a lot of problems for the White Sox, and that deal was in their wheelhouse. So that one stung. That one stung a little bit.
So are the names though, because I mean, obviously Larry Garcia signed, but I mean, again, you should be expecting him to just be a bench bat utility guy. If there's injury, you can play him. Hopefully, when it comes to October, he's not starting or anything like that. But so out of the guys left, and we mentioned a couple earlier, like who's like at the top of your list? It's like, hey, if we get this guy, it's all good. Rick Hahn, good job. Let's get to opening day. If they get this guy by spring training,
from guys that have already signed, I mean,
no, just like guys who are still available that you can still get.
I said a very successful offseason for me would be Eduardo Escobar and Conforto. I thought that would be a great offseason for the White Sox.
So you can still get one of those two.
I didn't hear Lurie Garcia in there. What the hell?
Yeah. Escobar obviously being on the Mets, okay.
What other second base option do you? Because again, it's thin. At this point, do you want to, allocate? Again, we know that every team can spend, but not every team will spend at every position. So, you have to look at how they allocate resources.
You don't know that. Sorry, although Mr. Hahn, I love you, dude, but you don't know that. That's a pet peeve of mine too.
What was that?
Will you tell the Spotify?
Jeff Kemcher? No.
You don't know that though. And that's what
Chris
I'm saying.
Taylor's been solid.
And Chris Taylor, and especially in the playoffs, he shows up in big games. And for a team that's been a first round bounce in the last 2 years, like that's a guy you want on your team. So that one sucked. I'm still hopeful for either Conforto or Castellanos. They need a real right fielder. Obviously, I prefer Conforto for the defensive purposes.
Yeah.
But
anyone second base, or at this point, like who would be? Because I think the top name, like not counting like if there's any trades, is like Jonathan Villar.
Right. So I think how you preference that is, I think the smart way to look at things now would be what can they get in a trade? And the way that Hahn was talking, the White Sox farm system sucks, dude.
Yes.
Like it is bad. The cupboard is empty.
You used last big trade chip in Nick Madrigal.
So
unless you're trading one.
You gotta it's kind of looking like what can you get for a Kimbrel Sheets package? You know what I mean? Like, or Kimbrel Sheets and then pick a name from the farm or something like that. Like, what second basemen are out there that you
can? Who's that one pitcher they drafted? The high school guy. Doesn't he get
Kelly?
Yeah.
He got hurt. He was on. He didn't play a full season. I mean, nothing crazy, but like,
right.
There's not enough on him. I mean, unless someone's like really high on his potential. And the thing that sucks was when Phillies went out and signed. What reliever did they go grab?
Corey Knebel.
Yeah, so they went out and gave Corey Knebel $10 million for a year. Obviously, the Phillies and Fidge, your trade that you've been preaching for a while with Kimbrel. I mean, it's still very much on the table. Corey Knebel's not going to solve your horrible bullpen by himself, but it doesn't help the cause, is what I'm getting at. You know what I mean? Sox still got Lambert.
Jordan Miller.
So I think they're going to need to start looking at trades. And it's almost like Hahn alluded to that too in his presser. So we'll see what happens. We got time now.
We're going to have plenty of time to talk
we
about
got time now.
with the lockout coming. Yeah. But I mean, as a quick,
are we going to go back to drafting food again?
Yeah, we got time. I'm not doing that shit again.
As a quick preview, that like the most popular trade that's been thrown out there, with the Sox and Phillies, has been like, okay, you give him Craig Kimbrel, and in return you get Jin Segura. Would you be good with that?
Say it one more time. Sorry, I was looking at Stroman's tweet to Correa.
You get recruit, baby, recruit.
He already is. He tweeted, "Need you in Chicago, my dog."
Get it done, baby.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
He was asked, "Hey Stro, how do you feel about recruiting?" And then he did a quote tweet of "Need you in Chicago, my dog," and then he tagged Correa.
What was that again, Aldo? Sorry, I got distracted.
No, you got me excited now too. I forgot. So I've seen it a lot. Is like, okay, Phillies obviously need bullpen help. There's Craig Kimbrel can be the closer. So Craig Kimbrel to the Phillies, and then in return you get Jin Segura for second base. Would you be okay with that?
That seems to be a real popular one. I've seen that from a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a reason why his name keeps getting brought up. He's not exactly performing to what people thought he would be. Yeah. There's your tweet, Aldo.
Oh, love it. Yes. I agree with you. Let me do.
Yeah, here's the tweet. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong button. I can't sit here. It would be very hypocritical of me for telling people to stop saying like Chris Taylor would have sucked here, and for me to turn around and be like Jin Segura is going to be fucking awesome here. You don't know that, but he very much could be a guy to get out of Philly. They don't exactly have the most forgiving fan base in the world. Where's Segura from?
Let me look it up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess Dominic. Yeah. Let me see. Jin Segura, born Dominican Republic. Hell yeah.
The White Sox are a pretty good fit for players from the DR in Cuba, and you know what I'm saying. Like, it could help. I wouldn't be upset about it. I don't think that Kimbrel really has a place on this team anymore, and he could very easily go to another team and become an all-star closer again. I just don't think that it's really a fit with the White Sox, especially after going out and getting Graveman. Mm-hmm. But I'm willing to give Segura a spin. They need something. Larry Garcia cannot start at second base.
Yeah.
That's bottom line, plain and simple for me.
Uh-huh.
So
I was looking at Jin Segura's numbers. I thought he'd be a little better. He's definitely hasn't lived up to whatever he's getting paid to. Obviously, he'd be an upgrade at like what you guys have now, which is again
nothing.
Larry Garcia,
which is literally
so again
backups playing.
Beggars can't be choosers here, but
yeah. Sorry, that's a fan account. Fernando Tatis has more than 2,300 followers. Sorry, yeah. Picture. He got a picture of Tatis, which is a cool picture. It's Tatis talking with Castellanos, and then of course.
Fake account season is in full effect right now.
Do not get me started.
Sorry.
Fake account season is in full effect. Well, we got about 3 hours to the lockout. So
2:55. Yeah. It's gonna happen. What do you guys think?
Oh wait, is it midnight Eastern time?
Yeah, it's midnight Eastern.
So we only got 2 hours.
Yeah, right, exactly. 1 hour 55. Actually, excuse me.
Yep. And
so, my question to you guys: what do you think if you could predict one out of the blue? Holy shit! Did that just really happen? What would be your what kind of moment? Like what kind of move?
I thought something happened. Kevin, don't do that to me right now.
Oh no! I'm being very animated with my question. Sorry. I'm trying to word it correctly too.
I quickly went to Twitter. I'm like, what happened?
Predict the most insanely but possible scenario tonight for some player before the deadline.
Like a surprise last-minute signing?
Yeah. Last-minute signing trade?
Give us a fiction or something that could be fiction.
I don't think we'll see a trade.
Non-fiction.
It would have to be a free agent signing. I don't think anyone's pulling a trigger on a trade right now. Trying to think of who's still available.
While you're thinking, I'd like to make sure that we're very clear that I am not Jewel 8-piece chicken.
Yeah, Jewel 8-piece chicken is the newest White Sox food account.
By the way, I thought Jewel was a 12-piece.
Not.
I mean, I'll start with one. Are we talking about with anyone, or are we doing like team specific here? Cubs, Sox.
Anyone? I think anyone.
I mean, like, anything that would shock me. Like if Correa signs with anyone right now, I think that'd be shocking. Just because I don't think he's getting the offers that he thought he was going to get. So I think he's going to be the one who waits it out. Like I think he's going to be the Manny Machado and like what happened that year, where like I think he eventually does get his money, but he'll wait for it.
Yeah.
What else?
So if in the next 2 hours he signs with anyone, I would be like, whoa, okay, that team, all right, that team stepped up.
I was actually going to say the same thing with Chris Bryant. Like I think he's waiting.
A lot of smoke with KB the last couple of days.
KB and the Mariners, man.
Who has said this from the start?
He's not waiting, starting
before the CBA.
What if the Mariners go, KB, we're giving you 6 for $175, full no trade?
It would legitimately have to be like $400 million for 10 years. He wants to see beyond the CBA because he lost $20 million on this current CBA, and it's a horseshit CBA. He'd rather read it and be, which is what he went to college for, a very prudent financial person. So, and guess what? The best part about KB is that KB can show up to spring training at a moment's notice, ready to go, because that dude doesn't stop hitting. That dude doesn't stop working. And the best part is he'll roll into a clubhouse and he'll fit in just fine because he's just a good person. So he doesn't have to, he's not going to go in there and like run around and grab people's nuts and shit. He's just going to go in there and work, and he's going to be a good teammate. And that's,
I guess
he's got to wait all he wants.
My other answer to that would be the White Sox signing literally anyone in the next 2 hours. That would shock the fuck out of me.
Well, didn't Rick Hahn already say that they had no other?
Yeah, they're done. That's why it'd be so shocking. Yeah. And again, to reiterate, if you're just joining us right now, I'm okay with that. Yeah. White Sox fans should be okay with it. Like, don't just sign someone because all the cool kids are doing shit right now. Like, get the right guy for the right price. You know, the White Sox could end up saving themselves a chunk of change by waiting this out, and they can maybe get 2 players instead of 1. You know what I mean? It's just like What's the rule of business?
What's the rule of business? ABC. Always be closing. Create a deadline. Create a sense of urgency. The deadline creates a sense of urgency, and that's what I love about Scott Boras too. All these people are trying to push somebody into taking a deal it's a slip up. They're trying to make someone's going to blink, right? Someone's going to make a mistake on a contract, and both sides are going back and forth trying to catch someone sleeping with their mouth open or whatever. And these guys that are waiting, the Castellanos, the Correas, the obviously the KBs, the ones that aren't really, they can kind of afford it too in a weird way. Those guys aren't already at a want because they've already made a ton of money, so they don't have, if there's a lockout, they're not going to starve. Some of these other guys are getting their first big deals of their careers, and so this is their first free agent contract, so they're going to be also freaking out about some cash too. That's where, again, you got this whole negotiation thing. But I just think that I love that some of these guys are willing to wait. What do you see on the other side of this thing? The owners could be pocketing more. You might lose a pension. You might, some of the stuff that the thing that walked them away from the table reportedly today was a cost of living increase. And it was like actually a reduction in their pension benefits is what the owners proposed. So they were actually reducing, which the pension benefits actually doesn't harm the millionaires. It harms the dudes that played 15 years and busted their knees up being a 200 hitter, being the 10th guy on the roster or whatever. Like, so it hurts the real guys that make baseball flow. And so I think the players, I said this on Twitter, this is going to get ugly. It's going to be a time, but make no mistake about it, until the owners open up their book, they are the villains in this until this thing ends. The villains. They are Cruella.
So let's turn this over. There's been a lot of good questions in the chat, and we're not ignoring you. We just had a lot to talk about.
Finally.
So yeah, why don't we do the rest of the show? Let's answer some questions in the chat.
Let's do it.
So Joey, he's got a nice little KB profile picture there. He asked, did y'all say who you think the Cubs are going for already? I think the general consensus is another starting pitcher.
I think definitely another starting pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
If they're in, let's preface this. If they're in, they will starting pitcher, right? Well, that's what I'm saying. If they're actually going to compete in 2022, if they're not
here's what I was going to say earlier about like just heading into this waiting period that we're about to head into in terms of like what we expect to happen in terms of other moves. If the big move for the Cubs is Marcus Stroman, I'm going to be disappointed. That's obviously just not enough for the White Sox. I think if like their addition is another like Adam Eaton 2.0, Sox fans should be fucking pissed off. If like that's the move for right field or like a second base guy. Like you guys should be like, what the fuck was this? But again,
it's a pop over.
But again, I do think at this point it does not make sense if the Cubs stop here. So I do think another starting pitcher. They will sign another starting pitcher. What level is that going to be? Are they going to take a flyer on a guy coming back from injury, a guy who had a down season, or like a combination of that, or a guy who has injury health but has a high? If he hits like a Rodon. That could be an option. The guy from the Mariners, Kikuchi. I think I'm saying that wrong. It sounds funny. I don't mean to.
What about that Sendit guy?
Who?
The Japanese guy, like
the outfielder.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the thing. There are a lot of bats. There are plenty of quality bats.
Hold on. Say it again for the people in the back. White Sox fans, listen to my guy. There's still a lot of bats out there.
Lots of bats. Like lots of bats. Obviously, yes. Like again. This isn't me talking down to White Sox fans. This isn't me saying you guys are dumb for thinking this. But Marcus Semien was never going to come to the White Sox.
No.
Like that was never going to happen. No. Now, Michael Conforto, yes, that could happen. Nick Castellanos, yes, that could happen. Absolutely. If you were a White Sox fan, you should be like, hey, Rick Hahn, Jerry Reinsdorf, do everything you can to at least attempt to get those guys.
I gotta think they are. So
and then the same thing goes for the Cubs. Cool.
We got a lot here.
You improved the rotation. I saw the tweet. It was from Gordon Whitmire last year. It was Kyle Hendricks, Zach Davies, and Jake Arrieta were the top three. That changed to Kyle Hendricks, Marcus Stroman, and Wade Miley. Instant upgrade. Yep. But you can't stop there because you still need to fill holes in your. You need a power bat. You still, hopefully, with the news, we've heard the little sprinkles of rumors here and there. They're keeping tabs on the shortstop class. Hey, maybe this is the year they actually do step up. I would fucking love to see it. At this point, you cannot rule that out. I'm with you, Kevin. A week ago, if I were to say the same thing, you can be like, yeah, bullshit, Aldo. But I think it changes now. I really do think it changes the outlook.
It's almost similar to when the White Sox went and got Yasmani Grandal at the beginning of free agency.
Yeah.
It kind of let everybody know, like, oh, shit, they're really doing this.
Can I give a shout out to, by the way, to Aloha, Mr. Hand? Pete has called this lockout from the beginning. He called it, I want to say like a year ago. He's been saying that their lockout is happening, so prepare. And he's been adamant that this is really where it was headed to, that the White Sox were going to pause up right before this shut down and not really do much. But he's also been optimistic on the other half of this too. So stay tuned for the other part of that prediction. But this is also, the CBA is something we're not talking about, and I think the CBA is so crucially important is how much of the CBA is focusing on the treatment that Major League Baseball needs to, as an umbrella organization, protecting our minor league baseball players. And
that is very important. But time out, Kev. Before we go off in a weird direction, I wanted to get these questions done.
I know I'm talking about the salary. Like this has to be rolled into it, and we can talk about that part later. But the financial aspects of it all, how much of the salary cap should go into, and if you're going to create a floor and a cap, how can you create a cap first off if you can't see the books? So like how much. You can't really you can't create like an honest cap if you can't know how much a percentage of the total amount you're actually taking from. And this is the problem with the new CBA is they won't open the books. So the possibility of a salary cap and a floor is possible if they open the books. You can't as a player agree to anything until you know exactly what you're agreeing to. And until they open the books up, the only organization in baseball that allows this is the Atlanta Braves, because they are public. They're public. Nobody else. You can't see anybody else's numbers. So we don't know what the Cubs are up, down, whatever. We don't know what the White Sox are up, down. We won't know what the Yankees are up, down. So until why would these guys do it? Agree something and say, yeah, I'm going to trust these owners. Like, yeah, they said that they have $24 in their account. You know what? I drove a dude home One time in college, he said he had like, $10 for Del Taco when we got to Del Taco or, Taco Bell, and we had no money. I had to buy all the Taco Bell. He lied. Same thing with this. You can't do a salary cap floor until you know the real numbers of the financials. And that's going to be a sticking point. And so that's where a cap and a floor won't happen with the players until they can open the books. And I hope they stick to it.
Yeah, the question on the table comes from Ryan Torbett, and he asked, what do you guys think of the possibility of a cap floor in the CBA? As far as cap goes, Kevin touched them all right there about opening up their books and everything. I think the floor is coming, though, and I'm a big fan of that. I think that's going to force owners' hands in a lot of different ways, and it also helped the White Sox get Dallas Keuchel the fuck out of here.
Speaking of that, speaking of bad players making a lot of money, I also think that's one of the reasons that we have seen so many teams, sign these guys like we haven't seen before. Just because I don't think they want to get into a situation where there is a salary floor and then you have to scramble to get to that floor, and then you end up paying mediocre players like way above what they probably should get. So I do think that maybe it's not like a huge factor, but I think it's like a little thing. It's like, hey, Texas Rangers, like they're they had a lot of room to make up in terms of spending money. Why not get like 2 of the top 5 free agents?
It's a good point. I guess I never really connected those dots, and I agree totally with Fids though that the treatment of minor league ball players needs to be thoroughly addressed in this regard, because
and I think that's what sucks the most about these
2021. You got to
about these talks because I think, like, if you're a minor league player right now and you have you don't have a single day of MLB service time, you've never played an MLB team, like through this lockout, you can't even sign a minor league deal.
Right.
No, you got to go work like Enterprise Rent-A-Car, dude. Like,
and for those guys, I mean, obviously the guys who are already there, for the most part, they have some guarantee of where their next money's coming from. Minor league guys don't. Right. They just don't, and it fucking sucks. They live a brutal life. Yes, they chose it, whatever. But just because you choose something doesn't mean that you have to fucking live in poverty when you have these $100 billion franchises up and down the league, and they're just like, too bad.
It's not a flex, and it's not a flex. I've coached enough. I've coached far more minor league baseball players than I've ever coached major league baseball players, if that makes sense. I have heard every story on the book now, and the difficult. Can you imagine trying to play high level sports when your entire group of where you live, which is, by the way, like 6 to a 2-bedroom house, where you have to order pizza every night, and you probably order pizza like Sunday night, and you get like the special buy 5 for like cheaper. So you get 5 pizzas, you put them in the fucking fridge, and you freeze them, and you eat that for breakfast every day. You're eating unhealthy. You're eating ramen. You're barely getting by. You're scraping by with a terrible system that doesn't give you anything to take care of you. Like, you're paying rent. You're asking your parents. You have to do a GoFundMe. Like, it's incredible what these guys have to go through just to go and play. Could you imagine any of you, like anybody that works a job, if your company said, hey, I need you to go here on a work trip real quick to Nebraska. So you have to do this, or you're fired. You go to Nebraska, but you pay your ticket, you pay for your hotel, you pay for your food, and you pay as long as we want to keep you there. It's coming out of your pocket. Like, how horrible would that be as a regular employee of a company? And this is what Major League Baseball does to 18, 19, 20, and 21-year-old kids when they could have just gone to college and gotten an education. And this is a horrible aspect of Major League Baseball. And I am extremely hopeful and optimistic that the actual MLBPA is going to try and find a way to umbrella minor league baseball players into some sort of commitment to create some sort of protection clause for those players. And if they don't, shame on them. Shame on the players, too. This is their moment to really dig their heels in the sand and protect the kids that make up really the backbone of Major League Baseball, which is to be able to let a kid try and at least give it a shot. And sometimes he's a first rounder, sometimes he's not. Sometimes he's a deep late draft pick that somehow figures it out late. Is a Patrick Wisdom, right? And this is the worst part about this whole thing is, and I hope they come together and do something about this, because this is the moment, this is the line in the sand, and I hope that they stand, and I feel like they will.
So, and I mean, Chicago Ball Talk, you've been very active in the chat tonight. We appreciate that. He agrees with you that they're never going to open up the books. He's also with you, Aldo, with the Correa. Then Joe Martinez says, does Matt Boyd and Danny Duffy become a Cub before the deadline? I like them both. Duffy is injury prone a bit, but he had an ERA in the high 2s before the injury. My, how the turntables. Do you guys remember when Detroit was asking for like a number 1 or 2 prospect and an MLB player for Matt Boyd? And now he's on the streets. Like, it's crazy. I actually saw some people saying they want Matt Boyd on the White Sox to fill in that 5th spot. But
out of those two, I think I take the Fire. Well, there's pros and cons for both. Matthew Boyd, he's put up decent numbers. Obviously, he was released for a reason. But he's a guy who you'd be comfortable taking a flyer on. The only thing with him, the velocity has gone down a little bit. So it's like, and again, Cubs don't need another guy only throwing like low 90s at best. Danny Duffy, I'd love to have him, but he's been overall fantastic. Or nothing like elite stuff, but he's been pretty decent with the Royals throughout his career. The thing with him is, I think he had a forearm strain or a forearm injury this year with the Royals. So I'm just curious on like his health. Yeah. But I mean, out of those two, I think I take the flyer on Danny Duffy. And again, this is a move that before the Marcus Stroman, in a vacuum, taking a flyer on Danny Duffy, solid. If that was like that was like the major addition to your rotation, bad. But now if you had a Danny Duffy, it's like, okay, again, you made your team better.
No, it's amazing how the order of events makes such a difference.
Right? It's just it changes the perception of what you think. Because imagine if Marcus Stroman does wait. And he's like, you know what? Let's wait it out. Let's see what the offers are after the new CBA. Right now, we're like, what the fuck are the Cubs doing? It changes everything.
Yep. I don't know. I'd have to look this up. Is universal DH a done deal, or is that part of this negotiation?
I honestly think it is
kind of like a layup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a layup.
I'm all for it. I've made no.
But here's the thing: is again, though, we don't know 100%. So, like, again, how many of you like to? I mean, some of these guys signed early gambling. Some of these guys waited late too because maybe there won't be a DH. What happens if that line in the sand is like, we'll push it off 2 more years? Well, now all of a sudden, some guys lose their market value because they can't play every day as a DH. And but if there is a DH, that raises the value of pretty much every single bat in the entire free agent class. Every pitcher, it probably lowers their value a little bit because now you're going to be facing an additional bat every time out, national or American. So,
our good buddy Yumper, with all the outfield bats still available, do you think the Sox get that payroll over 180 before it's all said and done? Yes. I think they're going to be right at 2. I think they're going to be right at 200. I don't know if current players care about the minors. Look at the draft being 5 rounds. Players have nothing to do with that. CBA only covers men on the 40-man. In past lockouts, the minor leagues still went on, according to a few articles that I read. That
they get paid.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. Can they bargain for non-union members? That's from Chicago Ball Talk. I don't think so.
I don't think.
Well, that's the whole big thing. It's like right now it's the MLB union with the owners. So like the whole thing is like, how does it change? The biggest thing is just like the arbitration process and like when we've talked about it before. When Chris Bryant won MVP, he was making like $700,000 or something. Again, because it was his second year, he was still pre-arb,
which is horrible.
He made $700,000 in his MVP season, and then he made 1.1 in the season after.
And then they finally, after a couple of years, you get to arbitration, and then you get the escalated pay. Right. So, like, what the players have to focus on now, I think, is the whole thing that they are trying to focus is changing that time, changing that clock,
getting more money while you're in your prime.
Yes, like, hey, it benefits us because, hey, you don't have to feel bad about paying us later if you're going to pay us now when we're producing the most for you. Yep. Or whatever it is. So, like, I think that in terms of talking about the minor league players, yes, there's the whole thing of there's their living condition now, but also it sets them up for their first few years in the major leagues, making that better for them.
And I'm not sure who said it today on MLB Network earlier today, and they were talking about like, look, and there was actually one of the players actually said this. They were from the players union, and it said, look, we know that we can't make all the changes now. We have to, the owners have used the last 15 to 20 years to incrementally build this system. We have to do this a little bit at a time, which is a little bit political speak, of course. But the fact is, you can't be like we can't say, hey, owners, we're going to go from 0 to 50 in 5 seconds. Like, it's not going to happen. You're in a Ford Escort, relax. So the next thing is to how incrementally but not giving an inch, but making sure that you're not also pushing like a mile as well, taking what you can take over time. How much will these players push for? How much will they, go for? And so that's the big part of this is they're going to take stuff that when you go to the table the next time won't feel as much as a pain in the ass to the owners. Just as easy as it was over the last 20, 30 years for us to accept that players are greedy for wanting more money. So let's cap how much they can get paid. Let's not sign them. Let's not give them their fair share. Let's keep our books closed. They've created this climate for 30 years since the early 90s. So the players they're trying to erase 30 years of conditioning basically with the game. So you can't take 30 years back in one CBA. You take 3 or 4 or 5 years back. And so in this case, I just hope that they can get a commitment from the owners to start making changes to the minor league system. Whether that fruits anything, I'm not sure, but to get them on paper saying we commit to creating a better work environment for our interns, so to speak, as we prepare our business for our real product, which makes us billions a year. And that would be a good concession, I think.
Yep. No, I'm 100% with you, behind you with all this. And Joey, again, what do you think the Correa contract looks like? Definitely gets more AAV than Baez. He's going to get more AAV than Corey Seager.
I mean, yeah, he's getting Corey Seager.
Corey Seager getting 10 years, 325. If you want to think about Carlos Correa, start there.
If anything for him, he might go. I think I heard it the other day. It might be a similar situation with the offseason that we saw with Machado and Harper. How Machado ended up getting the higher AAV, but Harper ended up getting like the more overall money. So I think we might see that where Correa gets like maybe 350, but he gets more years, so it's a lower AAV, but he gets more guaranteed money. I think we might see that situation play out.
And he might want to set it up where he can get another contract in there before it's too.
Oh yeah, like he'll want like opt out for sure. Yeah.
And Chicago Ball Talk here agrees with us. 10 years, 330. I think that's your jump off. Old pale mailman Jack says he has a weird DH. The weird feeling the DH won't be happening now. Jack, here is where I'm going to disagree with you. I think the universal DH allows superstar players, big name players like Miguel Cabrera and all these guys to be in the league longer. I also think, and as Joel Martinez points out here, DeGrom is a prime example. He haven't hurting his back due to his at-bats. I mean, there are pitchers in this league that can absolutely rake. I'm not saying they all suck, but a majority of them suck. And nobody wants to watch that shit. I don't know. I think the universal DH gives pitchers a longer shelf life, gives sluggers a longer shelf life, and just makes games overall more exciting. I understand that the counter argument to that is like the strategy and all this other stuff, but I'd rather watch Kyle Schwarber hit than Chris Sale stand there with the bat on his shoulder for 3 pitches. You know what I mean?
I'd buy the whole like there's more strategy argument, but we already have half the teams playing with the DH for the past 50 years or whatever. So I mean, you can have it for everyone too. It's fine. And so
Ralph, thank you for clarifying. The players' union agreed to the draft being less than 5 rounds. The way you mentioned it earlier, you said the players. I was like, yeah, Yohan Moncada had nothing to do with that. You know what I mean? Like it was just, but yeah, I think the union. Yeah.
Good point.
No, I mean that is where there's going to be a struggle because, like,
Liam Hendricks won't have to run the bases.
Yeah, but the Pirates will still not know how to play defense, so it won't matter on any. Yeah. Sorry, they're not going to. Well, actually, they fixed that. I guess they cut that poor guy. Sorry,
but he almost ended his career.
By the way, so those friend of the show, Chase and Shreve, now will enter the dead period of the CBA unsigned. He will be with us. Hopefully, if this lockout extends, we're going to have a very, very nice internal from the ground level, from the field, I guess we'll call it, experience from someone that's a very good reliever in baseball that didn't sign before the deadline, and now what are they doing?
You know, I know that's your boy and everything, but for people that think Kevin's being biased, go look at the stats. Jason had himself a year.
Oh no, Jason's always been a solid pitcher. He's been a victim. He's been a victim of what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
He's been a victim of the whole contract, how teams can manipulate like guys with minor league options, guys who haven't reached arbitration yet. Like he's a perfect example.
He talked about it on the show too. He's also a victim of the algorithm that they have in the computer system that they use that values young, cheap players over veteran players that might cost a little bit more. So they when they put this whole thing together, a player like Jason who could get outs and will help you, that might cost you $3 million, you can get a $500,000 dude to pop up here for a second and get the job done before someone figures him out, and then you can shoot him right back down because he's got options. Unfigured out. Ooh, it's like a mystery. It's like misdirection. So it really plays around with the Paul Ossemakers of the world, a dude that pitched 28 some odd years, wouldn't exist in today's game because he would price out, even though he's not really that expensive.
Yeah. So, we look forward to having Chase on. Maybe we get some other guys on. We're going to start during the lockout, especially when content is going to be
Tyler Anderson.
What?
Tyler Anderson. Hey, he didn't sign, did he? Did he sign yet?
I don't think so.
We'll get Tyler on.
But we're going to try to get a couple more guests on during the lockout. It is going to be tough. You know, they're coming up with trade scenarios and all this other fun stuff. But we're right at the hour-and-a-half mark. I think this is a good place to put a pin in it. Really appreciate everybody for participating in the chat. Thank you guys. It really helps with the flow of the show, and we love, interaction and stuff like that. So big shout out to that. And if you're new to the show, if you're coming from Cub Zone or any of that, welcome. We appreciate it. You guys can follow us at Pinwheels Ivy Pod on Twitter. If you want to show the show some love, it's the pin tweet on top of our Twitter account. And then also, 'tis the season, man. We got merch. If you want something with the logo on it, definitely go ahead and order some of that. And then last but not least, please, as Jumper says in the comments here, hit the like button, guys. Subscribe. That's how you're supposed to do it if you're a YouTuber.
Do it.
Push
notifications. But we come at you guys usually every Wednesday at 8-ish. During the off season, there might be a week or two off. But although, Kevin, any final quick parting thoughts?
Go sign Carlos Correa, Jed.
That works.
Yep. And sorry about the auto tune there as well. No, let's go. Cubs are back.
All right. So that's
oh my God! How dare you? How dare you?
That's the show. For all those Fids, I'm Zoe. You all be good, and we're an hour and a half away from the lockout. So figure out something to do. We'll see you guys next week.
Mad bitches.